Morning. Right, got a few changes that are going to happen to this artist support pledge that I've been doing over the last, I don't know, 2.5 months. And I think it's coming to its point where it's run its course now. So from June onwards, I'm going to put the prices up on the ones I produce after that time period. So I'm going to carry on the series, doing exactly the same thing. Obviously it'll develop in much the same way as it has been developing, but I am going to put them up to 75 quid each. I'll incorporate the postage and packaging, and so it's not a massive jump. I still think they're a bargain at 75 quid each, quite frankly. There's 6 or 7 hours in each one of them. So it's 10 quid an hour, it's like minimum wage I'm getting for it. So I don't want to hear complaints about it. Unless they're constructive. Right, so what I'm going to do to compensate for that, and what you're looking at right now, is I'm working out a template, and it's only in, I'd say it's midway through it, and get a rough idea where I'm going with it. And I've acquired one of these, which is called the jelly plate. It's got a film on it at the moment, which is its protective case. Obviously I have not used it yet, but if you want to see what they're like, have a look on YouTube. Just put jelly plate, Gelli plate, and you'll get, it's basically it's a printing press. It takes the press out of it, so you can do monoprints, and you can use acrylic paint to just, and virtually any, you can print onto textiles, anything that you can use acrylic on, which is pretty much universal, you can use to make really layered, colourful prints with. So I'm quite looking forward to using that. And what I've seen of the demos so far that are really helpful in terms of technique, it's very, it doesn't have to be, there's all sorts of approaches to it, but it's very, how do I put it, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, it's very sort of, there's a lot of stencil work that you could incorporate into it at any stage. So I'm looking at what I've seen of it so far, and I've done probably 15-16 hours of just scrolling through, listening to or watching YouTube channels on it. And they're very prescribed, what they're using in terms of the templates, and I think for me that's missing the trick a bit. So if I work on something that's a little more, I'm not going to say what they're using isn't detailed, but something more idiosyncratic, something that's mine anyway. And as I keep line drawings of, that's part of the prep work of what I do, you'll probably recognise this from other stuff that I've done in the past. I have ideas about how I'm going to use the colours and break this image down, and then cut it onto, I'll transfer, whatever I work out with this will become a line drawing. I'll just rub everything out after I've worked it out, what the boundaries are, what I'm keeping and what I'm removing. I'll then draw it out with one of these pens, which is a waterproof Rotring Ticket. They're great pens, really like them, worth the money. Don't last brilliantly long, but waterproof ink. Once it's on, it doesn't come off. Yeah, so then I'll draw that out with one of these pens, probably a thinner one than a 0.8. Then I'll do a tracing of it onto like an acetate, not the jelly print, but an acetate sheet, like the acetate that this is in. And then cut it out and use that as a block and then a reprint into the jelly plate itself. It's just, whereas you'd only get, through standard press printing, you would only get one print. The ghost print just comes in so handy with this jelly print, because even if it's not a particularly, you know, an image that you're happy with, you can layer them so much. It's, you can paint, you can, I mean, the diversity of things that you can do with it is just, it just means you can do an awful lot without a printing press now. And it's an incredible bit of kit. I'm quite really looking forward to using it. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to, and there'll probably be, I haven't worked out what I'm going to use as prices for them, but I'm guessing between 25 and 40 quid, but I'm obviously trying to give you something that is where I'm compensating for putting the prices up on the other ones. Another compensatory measure that I'm going to be taking on is I'm going to just do some sketches in my favourite pens, which are Pilot Parallel pens. It's not just that, I know I've had grief off of people about how ecstatic I was about their development in nib technology a few years ago. An ex of mine thought it was most amusing that I got so excited about two plates of metal stuck together, which may be a fair point. I knew I'd be using them for a long time, so that's why I got excited about them. But it's not just the nibs with them. The ink's fantastic when you use it on watercolour paper, which is what this is. And I don't understand why anybody doesn't. If you're using them for artwork, I just wouldn't be using them. It's a waste of their ink on cartridge paper. You don't get the benefits of it. And you'll see what I mean, especially when it dries. So I'm going to work on what I do with the these portraits where I've been doing them in acrylic and they're quite tactile. I'm just going to work on a series of sketches that are on the same scale, but then they're just not going to be, I mean, they might end up better or worse, I don't know until I do them. But yeah, it'll be another thing. I'll probably do these between 20-30 quid. So that way I don't feel so guilty about putting the prices up to 75 quid. Which I probably shouldn't do, but I said I'd do it at the start. I don't like going back on my word. And I don't think I am going back on my word, but if you think different and you've got a constructive way of putting it, let me know. I'm all ears. Right, I'll get started. So that's a new one, which is the finished one. It's not the finished one that they make, but it's the finished one for me. So I think that's, what is that? That's 3.8 millimeters. This one's, sorry, that's the medium. This is the finished one I've got. This one is 2.4 millimeters. Really, they're for italic writing. And that, which is my favourite, is 6 millimeters. From what I mean, I'm no calligraphic artist by any measure whatsoever, but from what I've seen of things, and I did do a bit of nosing around when I was looking at, I'm always interested in pens. To get a pen of that width and nib to run like this, you're talking about paying, you can add zeros. So this is like 10 quid. And you see on this watercolour, you get a really nice broken line with this. But when you add water to it, that's why I think it's a waste of time putting it onto cartridge paper. Because if you're going to add water to it, this ink's got a life. I don't know what it is that they're using, but it's not like drawing ink that I get from other sources. Got a lot more depth to it. Don't know how light fast it is. I suspect not very. anything where you can adjust the ink once it's dry is technically a dye. It's not an ink, is it? Apparently, so I've been told by somebody who's quite well versed in this. So yeah, I just start by crudely mapping out. Pretty much everything I do is crude. Mapping out, you know, you can see, yeah, it's just feeling my way into it. And I do find, I mean, I might not do this with this one, but I do find if you can work in a bit more detail into it early on, it kind of helps to have high contrast areas that you've done with a pen alone, so you pick up the surface of the paper. So when you use the, you'll see when I put a paintbrush onto it, it's got a lot of I don't know, if it was another form of paint I'd say it had a high form of viscosity to it, because it's quite, yeah, imposing upon the sheet, and it's a good contrast to have the two different, like a broken lime black and the black that you get out of the ink when you put the wash over it. I'll keep going. But these are not, again, they're not intended as detailed. They're like a, I don't know, more linear. They're not even that really, because they've quickly become sometimes I think I do this to counteract, because I do so much of, if somebody asks me to do a commission, that's what I do, is I work out, I'm doing it at the moment, you can't see it on the camera, but I'll post a picture of it later because I'm quite progressed with it. Quite a formal portrait, like I've said in other videos. I haven't got round to it yet, but I am going to film once that's worked out as quite a tight, restricted line drawing. I'll then transfer the line drawing that I've worked out, and I don't use it by beaming it through on an overhead projector, or I do it all by hand, and I make a point of that, and I know that's coming across in the way I'm saying this. I think it's important. Yeah, I'll take the line image and put it across onto a piece of watercolour paper, and I'll film what I'm going to do as the painting, so you'll get to see it develop from a line drawing into a painting, hopefully, if I do it correctly. Pressure's on a bit with it because it is a commission. It's a good friend of mine who's commissioned me, so I think he'll be, I've got his express permission to, it's his wife that I'm painting. So far I'm really happy with the line drawing on it, but it's only an initial stage of it, but that's exactly why I do this sort of line drawing, or more accurately. This sort of line drawing, which that is from. That's a trace off. I keep a trace off of everything that I work out as a line drawing. And the reason that I started doing that is because I found that it was an enormously absorbing section of my time. You lose it anyway by and large. I've got no problem with that whatsoever, but it's the time consumption that wound me up. So it's probably about 20 years ago now, longer than that, maybe 21, 22 years ago, I started to figure, right, I'll get the line drawing to quite a high polished finish, where I've got a good understanding at least of details, and they're quite descriptive within the image, and then take a trace off of that, because if it all goes belly up, I haven't got to spend a few days work. Sometimes they take longer than that. There was a figure drawing I did last year of I don't know how many of my images you've seen. I forget what I called it now. She's like holding up a big sheep. I did a whole series of them, and working out the line drawing for that probably took me I don't know, 4 or 5 days just to get the line drawing down. But it's a totally different mode of thinking for me. It's not how when I'm working in paint, I don't know, it's not the same. It's highly analytical. And so that's why I think I do things like this, is to get the hell away from. It's a really, I can't advocate learning your draftsmanship skills enough. And I don't think everybody can do it, and I used to, but not these days. I've seen more than enough evidence. Blank slate thinking that, but that's a whole nother argument you can get into with me, but I'm not doing it now. Right, let's carry on with this. Have a swig of coffee. If it sounds like I'm doing this in hushed tones, I am, because it's like 3:30, 4:45 in the morning. Right, I try to maintain, I don't always do this, but the age-old rule of fill the sheet out. You usually, I know what it's like. I know loads of artists that do this, that don't. You've got to fill the sheet out. I'm not saying that's a hard and fast rule. There are times when there's exemptions to that, but by and large, if you don't, it does something to you about your tolerance of the image, I think. It's never as you suddenly confront very quickly that the image that you're going to create is not going to be as good as the one in your head. And it's not even to do with mapping it out, because in some medias you could just paint over the top of what you've mapped out. I think it's to do with encountering as quickly as possible, and I think this is a lesson in all painting, that you're never going to make the images that you can get in your head. Your imagination is unhinged, if it's anything like mine. And so you change your mindset about it. I mean, when I started this, I was thinking, oh, right, my usual thing, all bits, fill out the all bits, oh, that gives me. And then, through pretty much, I would say, subconscious, there's nothing that I can think of that motivated me to fill out the background like that, apart from I've probably got a history of doing that quite frequently, but it wasn't anything entailed within that image that made me go, oh, that needs that. Probably tells you a lot about how I think when I paint. See why I have problems with formal paintings. I don't even know what I mean by that. What is a formal painting? One that's made of paint. Right, what I think I'll contradict. So I'm trying to bear in mind what I was saying earlier about working up some of it so you get these darker, broken areas so you can pick the texture of the paper up. You will get that with you can get some fat. Another reason for using watercolour paper, dry brushing. I don't know why anyone dry brushes on. I don't get it at all on cartridge paper. It's just a waste of ink. I encountered it so many times when I was working on stuff that I'd do a drawing that I was really happy with, or a painting or an ink sketch that I was really happy with, start to wash parts of it, and when it's wet it looks fantastic, just like acrylic. And then when it dries, you just stand there looking at it thinking, why didn't I do that on watercolour paper? And that happens so many times that I don't think I've ever used these on anything other than watercolour paper. I just don't see the point. You lose all of the vivacity of the ink. It's just gone. In context, I don't know, I'm open to suggestion, but different thing if you're using them for what they're intended for. I can totally understand you want a nice smooth, that's what these are about. But for me, they're a sort of, they're the complete opposite of that. It's the fact that I used them on a broken surface, an unsmooth surface, unlike cartridge paper. That I can capitalise on that, whereas if you're using them for what the vast majority of people use them for, which is calligraphy, then yeah, you want that really, you don't want what I'm getting right now out of it, which is I really like that. But especially when you see the worked up tones and lines and marks in context to what you'll get in a minute when I put, because I'm not exactly thinking about this as much as I'm concentrating on what I should say to you. It's becoming an instructional video, which I said I wouldn't do. Something within this, so a little more formalised. I mean, it will radically change, so I very little doubt to that. Another thing that you get with the watercolour palette, I'm very fond of this with these actually. I don't know, I will end up employing it. It's a matter of how long I'll put it off. If I do a series of these, which I've got the paper to do it and the ink to do it, it's probably going to happen. Then at some point, if it's not now, it will happen. I will start using like quite monochromatic friendly tones and colours of acrylic, because you get an almost like oil paint sort of layering effect to it. As the ink bleeds through, you get this really organic quality to it that you don't, I don't know, maybe it's by not Mr. Technique, but getting any real high level control over it is damn near impossible, but it gives you fantastic textures. And again, you don't get that with, we don't get it so much with, you get a flattened version of it with cartridge paper. I might take a break for a few seconds and have a look at what it is that I'm pretty much on autopilot here. So you try doing that with another cartridge pen and watercolour paper. Good luck with that. It's quite, you know, I'd say it's medium rough. It's called rough, but I don't know, I've seen a lot rougher watercolour paper than this in my time. But you just, other ones that I've used, I've got Rotring, which is the same company that make that Tiki pen. And yeah, it's a more standardised nib. I get it with these, look, I'll show you. I use the smaller one. It gets caught up, the chances of it getting caught up and not getting that continuity where you can just go down the entire page in that sort of... I hate hat shading. I hate the term of it. See too many 45-degree lines in hat shading, you're missing the point. Pastel lessons in mark making. It's hot pastel, maybe. I don't know if we've got soft pastels. Don't ever come that smudging it with your finger treatment with me. Right, I'm not keen on using that, but yeah, you do get you can imagine this burns through quite a bit of ink. You get it's a decent sized cartridge, but with this one, the bigger nib, I don't know how many times I've changed the cartridge. I've had that, I think I've had that since 2015. I've never cleaned it once. It's never needed it. You get all the cleaning kit with it. I say that, you get a slip that you're supposed to put. But I found with other cartridge pens, I don't know, because this has got a constant flow into it of quite high density, I think it maintains itself. It's like a well-oiled tool. Whereas the ones that I've used in the past that are the thinner nibs, you don't get it with these ones. And I think that maybe what your standard nib, I don't know what you're seeing there. Can you see that? Can't really see it. Well, your standard nib is your obvious, and it has a split down the centre of it, and that's the feed that you get that comes from the reservoir of the nib. What they've done at Pilot is invert that feed from the reservoir, so now instead of it just being like a thin river that runs down to the point of the nib that you write with, and that's how it pulls out onto it, now it's spread out across that square down into it. So that's like the line on the old nibs, and what they've done is add depth to it and sort of inverted the nib. I think it's a really clever bit, and I like things like that. So I was most impressed with it. Anything where I sort of, I mean, I've been thinking that with the jelly prints that I've been looking at today, and I found it with a few things. Printmaking, where it's craft orientated, I'm going to say this, and boy am I going to get some flack for it, I imagine. There's a very fixed perception within some, I'm trying to be diplomatic here, within some fields of art about what is, I've been thrown out of, not that I care much about this, but I've had work thrown out of groups where I've used printmaking and found a way to converge it with drawing, painting, other print. The type that I've used was lino and monoprinting, and it got thrown out of a group. There's nothing wrong with the image. Other print groups have been perfectly fine with it, and it's the same thing that I find with it's like a bias towards the technique rather than the aesthetics that you get from that technique. You know, what it does philosophically in terms of what you can incorporate into if you've got a more diverse practice than just continually making prints. You're getting my contempt across in that tone of voice. I'm not saying how you should do it how you want to do it. I just think there were some things that you'll see when I do the jelly prints. I don't want to go into it at the moment because I don't want to give people ideas and give them the jump on me. But I've watched numerous of the jelly print videos. Now maybe somebody, but there's just like major trick that, I don't know, they're not thinking about a major aspect of incorporating other techniques into it, which they do with other things. I don't want to, I'm being quite vague at the moment because I don't want to blow my cover on my, but you'll see, I'm going to hopefully film it over the weekend.